Any of the people in the room were uncomfortable. They were uncomfortable. I guess they were aware of the hypocrisy of SNL kind of standing on this ground of no bullies for years, and then suddenly hosting Blake and Ryan when people could read their text messages bullying Justin Baldoni. It didn't serve them to have them there. And of course, it would have been him that insisted upon walking.
People were already whispering about Blake Lively's less-than-friendly reputation, but on February 16th, 2025, Candace Owens blew the lid off the entire situation with some jaw-dropping allegations. Owens didn't just talk. She came armed with receipts, exposing what she called Lively's dirty behavior in a series of damning Instagram posts. And the fallout? A complete and utter meltdown right in front of Hollywood's elite and even the courtroom. Owens dropped bombshell evidence, including what appeared to be HR complaints and financial records, igniting a legal firestorm that now has Justin Bald and Lively tangled in lawsuits. The drama escalated fast, and Hollywood's power players are scrambling to contain the mess. But it doesn't stop there. Big names like Jenny Slate and Isabel Ferrer have now been dragged into this chaos, and it's sending shockwaves through the industry. Lively, once Hollywood's golden girl, is now facing the biggest scandal of her career. The question is, can she survive it? For years, Hollywood has been a masterclass in PR manipulation, carefully crafting celebrity images and burying scandals before they ever reach the public. Stars rely on publicists, media strategists, and social platforms to keep their brands squeaky clean. And Lively, she's played this game flawlessly, portraying herself as the ultimate family-friendly actress. She's built an empire off of her picture-perfect marriage with Ryan Reynolds, adorable posts about their kids, and lucrative business ventures. But now, that carefully curated image is crumbling, and the world is watching every second of it.
Great. Why? What have you heard?
There's sadness, there's fear, there's humiliation, embarrassment.
No one knows what actually happened.
How's it going?
If your wife was SH, would you be making a joke about it? That girl is walking on eggshells.
Absolutely brilliant of SNL.
And I feel like this is a look of shock. This is not
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Now, let's break this down. Because when PR stunts spiral out of control, Hollywood always finds a convenient distraction. And in this case, Blake Lively allegedly threw Justin Baldoni under the bus, crafting a scandal that dragged his name through the mud and left his reputation in shambles. For a while, her strategy was holding up. She had Hollywood's A-list backing her up. Big names like Taylor Swift were firmly in her corner, making it seem like Lively was untouchable. But then, Candace Owens came through and blew her whole operation to pieces with nothing but cold, hard receipts and metadata. On February 16th, 2025, Owens dropped a bombshell Instagram video, unraveling a shocking investigation into Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. What she exposed: a desperate, behind-the-scenes effort by Lively, Ryan, and their PR team to completely destroy Baldoni's credibility. And let's talk about their tactics. They're not just spreading rumors. Owens claims they're throwing massive amounts of money into the machine, paying top dollar to manipulate the media and shape the narrative of their lawsuit. This isn't just damage control. It's an all-out war of influence. Owens paints Blake and Ryan as Hollywood's ultimate puppet masters, carefully plotting and pulling strings like sinister movie villains straight out of a psychological thriller.
On the red carpet and smiling and trying to look happy. And I will say, Blake Lively looked uncomfortable. There were various moments where I was like, she does not look like she is comfortable. She is very aware that the public does not like her right now. But in case you felt even a modicum of sadness for her.
According to her, their squeaky clean public image is nothing but a smokescreen, a calculated facade designed to distract from their true mission, taking down Justin Baldoni at any cost. I mean, seriously, can this Hollywood scandal get any wilder? This just goes to show how isolated Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have become in this legal war. At the start of their lawsuit, Lively played the PR game masterfully, using none other than the New York Times to craft the perfect sob story and win over Hollywood's sympathy. And the timing? Oh, it wasn't random at all. On December 20th, 2024, Lively officially filed her complaint against Justin Baldoni. Then, just one day later, the New York Times conveniently dropped a highly detailed exposé, painting her as the tragic victim of yet another cruel Hollywood saga. This wasn't just a news piece. It was a carefully orchestrated move, designed to make her look like the ultimate wronged woman while pushing Baldoni into the role of the villain. And guess what? Candace Owens saw right through it. In one of her explosive videos, she exposed how Lively allegedly used her wealth and influence to buy this article, turning it into a weapon. Owens claims Lively manipulated the media to not only gain sympathy, but to ignite a Me Too frenzy against Baldoni, and it worked. Feminists and Hollywood elites quickly turned on him, launching an industry-wide boycott that shattered his reputation. The article was filled with shocking accusations, with Lively alleging that Baldoni sexually harassed her during the filming of It Ends With Us. She even claimed he fat-shamed her, making her deeply uncomfortable on set. The allegations sent shockwaves through Hollywood, but when Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, stepped in, he dismantled the case piece by piece. Friedman argued in court that there's a legal distinction between sexual harassment and sexual assault, and that Lively's claims, while damaging to Baldoni's reputation, didn't actually meet the legal threshold of assault. In other words, the scandal might be huge, but whether it holds up in court is another story entirely. There was no actual evidence of physical sexual assault on the set of It Ends With Us, and with those allegations already looking shaky, Candace Owens took things to another level. She dug deep into the metadata of the New York Times website, and what she found, it completely turned Lively's carefully crafted sob story into a textbook example of media manipulation. Turns out, this wasn't just a case of Hollywood spin. It was a full-blown orchestrated campaign, and the timing of everything way too convenient to be a coincidence. Owens exposed how Lively's PR team allegedly worked behind the scenes to control the narrative, making sure the press would portray her as a helpless victim and Baldoni as the villain. But with this new evidence, the illusion crumbled. And for Lively, this is an absolute disaster. Brian Friedman wasted no time using Owens' metadata findings and timeline as key evidence in his legal battle. And to Lively's horror, the court accepted it. That means her whole strategy, her carefully built defense, it's unraveling right in front of her. But Lively isn't the only one feeling the heat. The New York Times, one of the most powerful media outlets in the world, has now found itself dragged into the chaos. And Justin Baldoni isn't letting this slide. He's officially filed a $250 million defamation lawsuit against the publication, arguing that their biased reporting destroyed his reputation. Now, with the Times caught in legal trouble, other major media outlets are backing off, unwilling to risk their credibility on what's looking more and more like a failed PR stunt. So what do Lively and Ryan do now? Simple. They shift gears. With mainstream media slipping out of their grasp, they turn to the new kings of influence, social media personalities, and TikTokers to rewrite their story. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have now turned to influencers and TikTokers to push their side of the story. Instead of relying on mainstream media, which is now backing away from this mess, they've sold their HR complaints to a handful of social media personalities, hoping to keep their narrative alive.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds. Hey.
Remember, Blake, smile and be cool. Ryan said it was a good idea to come out and show strength during troubling times. Nothing can get to you, Blake, not even Kevin Costner's cold stare.
Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
A simple question. All Ryan has to answer is the word good. No need for him to insert his stupid, quippy, crappy Marvel dialogue that hasn't been funny since 2007.
Great.
Everything is completely great. See, Blake, you knew you could trust one of your dragons. That's right, Kevin Costner. Not even your cold stare could ruin this evening.
Why? What have you heard?
This was not according to the plan. Ryan has betrayed you, just like everyone else has in this world. They're all just laughing because they're jealous and they want to be you, Blake. Remember that. Especially you, Kevin Costner. Who are you to stare at me, you Yellowstone wannabe cowboy son of a...
And just like that, 3 disturbing HR complaints against Justin Baldoni have flooded the internet. On the surface, these allegations seem serious. Lively and her team claim Baldoni engaged in inappropriate behavior during the filming of It Ends With Us. But when you take a real look at these complaints, the cracks start showing fast. The biggest red flag? The timing. These allegations conveniently surfaced after Lively's initial lawsuit was met with skepticism, making them look more like a last-minute attack rather than legitimate grievances. And then there's the mystery surrounding the complaints themselves. Key details, dates, specific incidents, and even who exactly filed these reports have been redacted or blacked out. The result? A vague, murky set of accusations that leave more questions than answers. If this was supposed to be a smoking gun, it's looking more like a desperate bluff. Candace Owens wasted no time tearing into these inconsistencies. In one of her latest videos, she exposed how Lively had intentionally blacked out major portions of the HR documents, making them practically useless as evidence. According to Owens, the real reason these reports were censored is because they wouldn't hold up under scrutiny. If you're going to fabricate, or at the very least exaggerate a scandal, shouldn't it at least sound believable? Right now, the complaints against Baldoni read like they were scripted for an over-the-top courtroom drama rather than a legitimate workplace investigation. His breath misted her face? Seriously? That sounds more like a cringeworthy line from a bad romance novel than an actual HR complaint. If this is the kind of serious allegation we're supposed to take at face value, then every actor in Hollywood who's ever exhaled too close to a co-star better start expecting HR investigations immediately. But wait, there's more. One complaint even references an intimate embrace and an additional sexual climax scene, as if this is some steamy courtroom thriller instead of a real-life lawsuit. These claims don't just sound exaggerated. They sound like someone was trying way too hard to add spice to an already messy legal battle. So what's the real story behind these HR complaints? Well, according to Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, there's a huge problem. There weren't any official HR complaints against Baldoni before this lawsuit. That's right. Despite all the noise about sexual harassment, there was no prior record of misconduct. And that fact? It seriously hurt Lively's case. So what did she do? According to Candace Owens, Lively went on a mission to buy HR complaints against Baldoni, using them as a last-ditch effort to sabotage his career and weaken his legal defense. And in the end, she got exactly what she needed: 3 brand new complaints. But here's where things get really suspicious. These complaints weren't filed just anywhere. They landed on Sony's desk, and that nobody saw coming. Even Candace Owens was shocked, questioning why Sony was suddenly involved in this messy Hollywood showdown. What does a movie studio have to do with HR complaints from a film set? Why were these reports not registered where they should have been? It's all looking like another power move by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, pulling strings behind the scenes, getting corporations involved, and trying to tilt this courtroom battle in their favor. But will it work? Hollywood is watching every move. So now we're supposed to believe that 3 different women all filed HR complaints against Justin Baldoni? Convenient, right? But here's the kicker. Nobody even knows who the mysterious third accuser is. Oh, but don't you love how the internet just ran with this whole 3 women theory? Out of nowhere, we're all supposed to accept that 3 actresses were gearing up to take down Baldoni, yet no one could even confirm who the third person might be. The speculation is wild. Some are assuming the missing name is Isabella. But let's be real, that theory got tossed out there just to stir the pot and let the internet go wild with assumptions. Confusion is exactly what Lively's camp wants. After all, the more chaotic things get, the easier it is to control the narrative.
Okay, so it literally took me 9 hours to get through and understand the entire Justin Baldoni lawsuit. I would be lying to you guys if I didn't say reading this and going through it with a fine-tooth comb and really making a meaningful effort to just look at the facts alone didn't completely change my entire perspective on the situation. So I'm gonna do my best to go through the most important points that I found, because I think I discovered some things that I have not seen anybody else talk about. Before I do, I would just like to say that I don't get paid through TikTok, and doing these types of videos, the video essays, the deep dives, it doesn't really benefit me or my business in any way. So it would really just mean a lot if you're not following me to just press the little follow button. It's free, it's really easy, and it would mean a lot, so thank you. Now, before people come at me in the comments, I just want to say, yes, initially I did fully believe Blake Lively.
But here's where it gets really weird. If these HR complaints were officially filed, why wasn't Sony named in the lawsuit? If Lively and her co-accusers truly believed they had a strong case, wouldn't they have taken action against the company responsible for handling workplace misconduct? Instead, Sony's name is nowhere to be found in the legal proceedings. Makes you wonder, was Sony conveniently left out to keep the case from getting too messy? Or could it be that Sony simply didn't take these complaints seriously? Think about it. If 3 women supposedly filed complaints against Baldoni on the same exact day, and Sony didn't act on them, what does that tell you? It suggests that Sony saw these reports for what they really were, a desperate PR stunt, not a legitimate case of misconduct. And despite whatever frustrations Lively and the other 2 women might have with Sony, they still didn't add the company to their lawsuit. Why? Because this was never about justice. This was never about holding an employer accountable.
And even after Justin Baldoni filed his first lawsuit against the New York Times, I read that, I still was not fully convinced of his case, to be honest with you. And I'm not going to apologize for that, because at the end of the day, we should all be aware it is statistically unlikely for a woman to lie about sexual harassment claims. So I'm not going to apologize for having a knee-jerk reaction of trying to kind of course correct. However, there's also a special place in hell for people who lie about these types of things, because it creates an atmosphere where people who are real victims are scared to come forward. I was not in the room. I do not know these people. You guys know how I feel about celebrities.
No, this was about one thing and one thing only: destroying Justin Baldoni's career. And now that the truth is coming to light, people are finally seeing through the act. Now let's break down the details of these 3 HR complaints. We've already given you glimpses of the complaint believed to be from Isabella, but now it's time to focus on the one that's widely assumed to be from Blake Lively herself. So, what exactly did Lively claim in this explosive HR complaint? Well, according to her, she had a shocking and disturbing encounter with her boss and director, Justin Baldoni. She alleges that during filming, Baldoni randomly decided to open up about his struggles with pornography addiction and his past sexual encounters. Sounds intense, right? But here's the thing. Anyone who actually understands how filmmaking works knows that context matters. And the context here? The movie they were filming wasn't just a lighthearted rom-com. It Ends With Us deals with domestic violence, romance, and intimate scenes. Naturally, actors and directors have to discuss every aspect of these moments to make sure they're portrayed realistically. That's just part of the job. And guess what? Baldoni wasn't even fazed when this private conversation surfaced, because he knew there was nothing inappropriate about it. In fact, the entire exchange was caught on a dash camera during production, meaning it wasn't some shady behind-the-scenes moment. It was a professional discussion about the film. But Lively's accusations didn't stop there. She also made claims about the childbirth scene in the movie, painting it as something sinister. Yet, Baldoni's own website completely debunks that narrative. Raw footage from the set, along with other documented messages, prove that the scene in question was filmed exactly as intended, with nothing inappropriate happening at all. So, what does that tell us? Either this HR complaint is a massive exaggeration, or someone is intentionally twisting facts to fit a particular narrative. And if this complaint is already looking shaky, what about the other ones? Well, get ready, because the next set of HR complaints? Oh, they come with even more drama, action, and wild accusations. And trust me, they aren't just about a sob story. They take things to a whole new level. This next HR complaint is widely believed to be from Jenny Slate, who played Alyssa in It Ends With Us. And what's the big accusation? That Justin Baldoni allegedly grabbed her buttocks during filming? Sounds serious, until you actually look at the details. This so-called incident doesn't even meet the legal definition of sexual harassment. In fact, all signs point to it being a case of a director trying to help his actress by adjusting her posture or calming her down on set. Think about it. Directors constantly interact with their actors, ensuring that movements, blocking, and emotional delivery are on point. But suddenly, this routine interaction is being twisted into something sinister. And this right here, this is how misinformation spreads. See, everyone loves a juicy scandal, but those leaking these complaints, they know exactly what they're doing. They're playing the classic PR game, muddying the waters, making the truth harder to find, and hoping that if they throw enough dirt, people will just assume Baldoni is guilty. And here's what makes it even more suspicious. So many crucial details from these HR complaints have been intentionally redacted. Think about it. If these accusations were solid, why hide anything? Why not let the facts speak for themselves? Instead, we're expected to take these vague, half-explained claims at face value, without any proof. But the truth is out there! Footage from the set actually proves that the buttock incident was an accident. And Baldoni? He immediately apologized to Slate, making it clear that there was no inappropriate intent. What does that sound like? A helpless director trying to keep things running smoothly while dealing with actresses who seem more focused on drama than the actual film. And let's not forget about the third HR complaint, which we previously discussed, Isabella's. Her complaint focuses on Baldoni allegedly crossing personal boundaries and making her feel uncomfortable. But even here, there's no actual misconduct proven, just a vague accusation based on feelings rather than facts. And if you listen to some sources, it was all just a misunderstanding blown completely out of proportion. At this point, it's looking less like a real case of workplace harassment and more like a coordinated takedown designed to smear Baldoni's reputation. I mean, seriously, who hasn't stood so close to someone that their breath completely ruined their makeup? Classic Hollywood director move, right? And now we've got the infamous sex scene complaint. Picture this. Isabella, fully in character, acting out one of the most vulnerable, intimate moments of the film. And then comes Justin Baldoni's so-called inappropriate remark. He comments on how hot the scene was. That's it. That's the accusation. A director giving immediate feedback on a scene designed to be intense and passionate. Because obviously, in the world of acting, hearing that you nailed a scene is totally scandalous. If a director tells an actress that her performance in a highly emotional, intimate scene was effective, that must mean he's overstepping, right? Absolutely no chance he was just directing and assessing the intensity of the performance like any filmmaker would. But here's where it gets even more interesting. While Blake Lively is making sure everyone knows how deeply disturbed she was by these interactions, Isabella? She's staying quiet, brushing off the awkwardness like it's just part of the job. And suddenly, it's only Lively's discomfort that matters? Now, let's get real. If these HR complaints were truly about workplace misconduct or abuse, why didn't Lively take action immediately? Why wait until the entire film was wrapped and Baldoni's career was on an upward trajectory before suddenly making these accusations? The timing alone raises major red flags. Think about it. Lively's complaint surfaced not when these supposed incidents happened, not when she felt uncomfortable on set, but after Baldoni's film was gaining major attention.
The end of them forever, because they seem like terrible, terrible people. So after reading the first two lawsuits and going through them line by line, there was still one question for me that wasn't adding up, which is, how did this seemingly normal friendship and working relationship between Justin and Blake turn sour so dramatically and escalate to the point of such intense hatred between the two? And after reading this lawsuit, I think we found that answer. I truly, wholeheartedly believe that the only explanation to this is that there was some type of underlying flirtation happening between the two. I believe that someone developed feelings for the other. Ryan Reynolds sensed this, discovered this in some way, because this is the only explanation for me as to why he would be so bent on absolutely destroying this individual's life. I'd like to remind you guys that both Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds met each other being co-stars and fell in love being co-stars. This is something that happens very often because you're in close quarters with someone, all the actors are good looking, you're simulating sex and kissing with somebody.
Convenient, right? Instead of seeking justice in the moment, it looks far more like a strategic move, one designed to wreck Baldoni's reputation exactly when he was on the rise. And let's not ignore the bigger picture. Right now, Hollywood is hyper-focused on gender dynamics and power imbalances. Public sentiment is ripe for these kinds of discussions, and Lively's complaint dropped at just the right time to take full advantage of that climate. This wasn't just a legal maneuver. It was a calculated PR move. But the timing isn't the only suspicious thing here. What's even more questionable? The attitudes of Isabella and Jenny Slate. While Lively is turning this into a full-blown scandal, they're oddly silent. And that silence? It's deafening. So, let's talk about Isabella and Jenny Slate, two of the supposed key figures in this entire mess. Now that the lawsuit is in full swing, they've both gone eerily silent. The public has no idea where they really stand. We do know that Jenny has publicly backed Blake Lively, at least on the surface. But Isabella? Radio silence. And that silence is speaking volumes. It raises serious doubts about the authenticity of that third HR complaint. If Isabella had genuine grievances, wouldn't she be standing front and center alongside Lively? Instead, she's nowhere to be found. And here's where things get even messier. There are actual interviews and text messages where Isabella praises Justin Baldoni. That's right. Before this scandal erupted, she had nothing but glowing things to say about him. She reportedly described him as wonderful to work with, and even mentioned that he made her feel comfortable on set. So which is it? Was Baldoni a nightmare to work with? Or was Isabella just playing the Hollywood game, trying to keep things professional by throwing out a few polite reassurances? Oh, you were great, Justin. Nothing weird happened. Maybe it was just her way of managing the situation without burning bridges. But now, that same politeness is being flipped into an accusation. And guess who's suspected of being behind this sudden shift? None other than Ryan Reynolds. Candace Owens fully believes that Reynolds has been working behind the scenes, helping reshape Isabella's story to fit Lively's victim narrative. Can you picture it? Ryan, sitting across from Isabella, flashing that trademark charming grin, saying, "Come on, girl, you gotta back us on this. Stick with Blake, claim you felt unsafe, and the world is yours." Because let's be real. In Hollywood, it doesn't take much to get someone to remember the exact details that fit a perfect narrative. A little persuasion, a little pressure, and suddenly a minor forgettable interaction turns into a full-blown accusation. And this is why no serious media outlet wants to touch Blake Lively's exaggerated sob story anymore. The pieces aren't adding up, and the inconsistencies are glaringly obvious. But we're not done yet. Let's bring in another major player, Ari Emanuel. If you don't know who he is, let me fill you in. This man runs Hollywood. He's the powerhouse behind Endeavor, the agency that controls the biggest names in entertainment. And why does he matter in all of this? Well, let's just say the real power moves are happening behind the scenes. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Enter Ari Emanuel, one of the most powerful figures in Hollywood. This man doesn't just navigate the industry, he controls it. He's got the unique ability to shape narratives, control media flow, and position people for either massive success or complete destruction. And when someone like that is involved, you have to ask, was this takedown of Justin Baldoni just a coincidence? Or was it something much bigger? Think about it. Was the timing of these HR complaints truly random? Or were they strategically placed to benefit Blake Lively in a way that we haven't fully uncovered yet? What if all this drama wasn't just about taking down Baldoni, but about elevating Lively herself? Because let's face it, in Hollywood, scandal can be a weapon. If Lively had a new project coming up, or was looking to reinvent herself in the industry, what better way to do it than by positioning herself as the tragic heroine? If she and Emmanuel were truly working together, then this whole Baldoni scandal isn't about justice, it's about strategy. And here's the real power move. By keeping her own image squeaky clean while creating a media storm around Baldoni's supposed misconduct, Lively gains public sympathy while making herself untouchable. Meanwhile, with Emmanuel's media connections, the story gets amplified at just the right time, ensuring the maximum amount of damage to Baldoni's career. It's Hollywood's classic manipulation game. Craft the perfect victim narrative, bury the opposition, and walk away looking like a survivor. And just when you thought this legal circus couldn't get any more ridiculous, Lively's legal team just hit Baldoni with the most insane demand yet. Clearly taking inspiration from Big Brother, they've demanded access to every single digital footprint Baldoni and his associates have ever made. That's right. Every text, email, social media post, and digital interaction is now being dragged into the case. What exactly are they hoping to find? Some ancient out-of-context message that they can twist into another scandal? A private joke that can be weaponized? Or is this just another desperate attempt to fish for anything that might stick? One thing's for sure. This isn't just a legal battle anymore. This is all-out war. Lively's legal team isn't just reaching, they're grasping at straws. Their latest subpoena requests are next-level desperate. They're demanding records from AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, AOL, yes, apparently AOL still exists, and other service providers. But why? Because if they can't win with actual evidence, maybe they think an old Google search, a deleted WhatsApp message, or some out-of-context email from years ago might do the trick. Meanwhile, Baldoni's legal team isn't having any of it. They've called this out for what it really is, an absolute joke of a fishing expedition. Let's be real, this is a civil case, not an FBI sting operation. But in Hollywood, when facts aren't on your side, the best move is to distract the public with a never-ending stream of drama. And trust me, this saga, far from over. More bombshells, more twists, and even more Hollywood insanity are coming very soon. So make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to stay in the loop. You don't want to miss what's next. See you in the next one.